Good morning, police emergency. How may I assist you?
Good evening and welcome to Ghana Police Watch. Over the last year, we have brought you news, analysis and special reports on the case of the 4 missing Takoradi girls, Priscilla Bentum, 21, Ruth Love Kwesing, 18, Priscilla Crunchy, 18, and Ruth Abaka, 18. Last week proved to be another decisive stage in this tragic story when the police announced the result of the DNA test carried out on the suspected skeletal remains of the girls and their biological relatives. As you may recall, all the 4 families agreed and gave their samples for the DNA testing on August 14, 2019. On Monday, September 16, 2019, the police announced that the DNA results were positive, that they can confirm that the skeletal human remains found in a well in Sespe Tank on the premises of Samuel Wills, the key suspects, were actually those of the missing girls. The announcement was made by Acting IGP James Opong Bueno. Let's take a listen.
A few minutes ago, officers of the Ghana Police Service informed 4 families in Takoradi in the western region of Ghana that DNA tests conducted on some human remains discovered in the course of police investigations into the disappearance of 4 missing girls had turned positive as the remains of the girls. The Ghana Police Service has, with regret, therefore informed the families that the remains are those of Ruth Abaka, Priscilla Blessing Bentum, Ruth Love Kwesing, and Priscilla Crunchy. Investigations now established that the girls were victims of a serial kidnapping and murdering syndicate that operated in the Takoradi area. While for various reasons we were unsuccessful in obtaining and acting on accurate, actionable intelligence in good time to enable us to rescue the girls, we believe that the arrest of the culprits has effectively thwarted the ability of this syndicate to have continued with further kidnappings and murders.
The results were communicated to the families before this official announcement by 4 teams acting simultaneously in Takoradi. This intervention was made complete, as it were, when President Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo placed a call to the families to offer his condolences. Not all the families welcomed the announcement and raised various points of disagreement. The mother of Priscilla Kwesing actually refused to take the president's call, but has since apologized. Let's go briefly to the family's press conference in Takoradi.
There is no iota of truth of what they have said. There's nothing, and you are not going to believe it. We are not going to believe it. That's not why you so. You don't pay. You pay anything. You won't be anything. You won't be anything. That's what I'm catching there. That's not why you are for now. Then one you have to edit more.
7:30 no be see here. They yembe. I'm a minjin.
I am a teacher in a secondary school, and I have some of the students from this community who comes to where I teach. And there are times at 5 p.m., parents will be calling my line just to find out whether we have closed, because by then their kids have not come back from school. And you realize that they are doing all those because of the tension that is engulfing this community. It's becoming a problem for most of the parents to send their wards to schools that are far away from this community. It's a big problem, and I think this press conference is in line with what they are feeling. In fact, they are pouring out their heart because we've been watching this in movies. Even in movies, how the kids are treated. You can imagine, and if it's not a movie and it's real, you can imagine what the parents are going through.
The press briefing by the acting IGP also gave some details of the police investigations prior to the announcement of the DNA results. First, the intensive search for the missing girls in Nigeria on the basis of the leads provided by the key suspect Samuel Wills.
Between April and July 2019, several surveillance operations were mounted in Onitsha, Awka, Port Harcourt, and Calabar in Nigeria. These were locations where suspect Samuel Oduatuk Wills emphatically mentioned at different times as places where the girls were sent, and directed investigation teams too, with the hope of tracing and rescuing the girls. He admitted that he, together with suspects John Orji and John Shika, kidnapped the young girls and sent them by road to a location in Nigeria known as Baby Factory in Anambra State. He, however, denied knowledge of the whereabouts of Ruth Abeka. The evaluation of this confession and other intelligence reports from Nigeria on the location and modus operandi of this baby factory culminated in an assessment by the investigation team at this stage that they had a fair idea of the location of the girls and that it would be possible to bring them home.
He also alludes to the arrest of John, another key suspect at Aflao in June 2019.
Upon collaboration with other intelligence and investigative agencies across West Africa, the second suspect, John Oji, was tracked and arrested at the Aflao border on 4 June 2019. During interrogation, John Oji admitted to knowing Samuel, but denied knowledge of any kidnapping. John claimed that he had met Samuel to collect some monies owed him after Samuel had sent him to Tamale in 2017 to bring him a money ritual box.
On August 2, 2019, Chika, another key suspect, was arrested in Abuja, Nigeria, which led the police to intensify the investigations within Ghana, and particularly Takoradi.
The Nigerian leads, ladies and gentlemen, were assessed to have grown cold and unreliable as at that date.
Fresh intelligence led the police to return to Samuel Wills's rented apartment and compound. The sequence of events was reported in the last program of Ghana Police Watch.
The main entrance to the house.
So this is the
house where Samuel was. He lives. His rented apartment. This opposite.
Straight on
yes, this straight.
That's his room.
That's
his
room.
apartment.
Yes, a single room, self-contained apartment.
Okay.
Yeah.
This is Cancer Ward, where Samuel Wills lived. So that's a septic tank.
Yes,
where
this is a septic tank.
Remains were retrieved. Just looking at this area, this is certain and abandoned.
Yes,
this one
uncompleted.
Has not been completed
yes.
at all.
When we came, this place was like this, bushy like this. So we have to clear this area because we wanted to find the septic tank, which is normally called a manhole in this house. This particular one is the one which we were able to open, filled with liquid waste, mixed with feces materials. Yes, we picked a long stick from this place, and one of our colleagues stirred the liquid waste. We saw a human hair, women rasta. That we normally call mesh in it. So we suspected something here.
Was it mesh that had been used or mesh?
It has been used, meshed.
So it came off somebody's head?
They have tied it with a ribbon. Yes. We found it here. And also a bone.
So
we retrieved it from this.
You had to drain
yes.
the water.
So we informed our regional commander, DCOP, Mr. Regima Vincent Tejo, and with the assistance of prisons, we were able to drain the water from this, the liquid waste from this septic tank.
Suspect Samuel Wills was then brought to the scene. What was his reaction?
He said he doesn't know anything about it.
New intelligence also led the police back to the uncompleted building where Samuel Wills was recaptured after his jailbreak. We're making our way to the well, which is right here. It will take quite a bit of effort. I may need to help you. Okay. This is the
well.
The well.
Yes, we retrieved a full set of remains suspected to be human remains.
Skeletal frame. Complete skeletal frame.
Yes, complete.
In this one.
This one.
On August 14, 2019, all 4 families of the missing girls consented and gave the samples for DNA testing at the Western Region Police Headquarters in Sekondi, Takoradi.
Make robbery and theft unattractive. Help stop the robbers and thieves. They come only to steal and deprive you of your valuable property. Did you know that your stolen items are sold cheaply to unsuspecting buyers? Do not make your home or workplace an easy target for robbers and thieves. Protect your property. Secure your electronic gadgets such as TV sets, ghetto blasters, laptop computers, mobile phones, and other valuables by marking them. Permanently mark your items with your name or a unique symbol. This will serve as a disincentive to thieves. Take pictures of your items and write down their serial and model numbers, as well as keep purchase receipts of your property. Also know the special ID number on your mobile phone, tablet or iPad, and remember to inscribe a unique mark on your items. Your ID marks, photographs, receipts, model and serial numbers, and special ID numbers of your mobile devices will help the police to retrieve your items in case they are stolen. Fit your doors with quality locks and secure your windows. Install CCTV cameras if you can afford them and make sure they are working properly. It helps the police to arrest thieves. Know your neighbors and develop a good rapport with them so that you can assist one another in the event of a robbery attack. Do not resist or fight back when robbers demand for your money or other valuables. You may be harmed or killed if you resist. In the event of a robbery, do not touch things around before you call the police. Thieves always leave clues at the scene. This may help in tracing them. Call the police emergency lines on 191 toll-free on all networks and 18555 on Vodafone and MTN for help. Stop! Are you qualified to use the siren? Do you know that using a siren is regulated by law? Not every vehicle is qualified to use the siren on our roads. The road traffic regulation allows only certain classes of vehicles to use sirens. These include vehicles used for official purposes by the President, a police vehicle, and those used by other recognized government security agencies, a motor vehicle used by the fire service, an ambulance used by a hospital or clinic, and a bullion vehicle registered by the Driver and Vehicle Licensing Authority, DVLA. Know that it is an offense to fit and use a siren on your vehicle if you are not licensed to do so. You will be fined if you break the law. Remember, only qualified vehicles should use the siren.
Before the studio discussion, however, here is a very illuminating conversation I had with Dr. Ernest Kwesi Ejay, anatomic pathologist at the Komfo Teaching Hospital, Kumasi. Joining us in the studio now is Dr. Ernest Ejay. He's an anatomic pathologist with the Komfo Teaching Hospital, and he's going to be answering some of the questions that have come up in recent times following the announcement by the Ghana Police Service. Thank you very much, Dr. Ejay, for making time to speak with us. Tell us a bit about yourself.
I am an anatomic pathologist, like you rightly said, and that is to say that I'm a pathologist who deals with autopsies and some forensic aspect of it. And then apart from that, I've had some special training in forensic anthropology, which is not the usual thing that pathologists will go through.
All right.
And so it's a subspecialty that deals with handling bones, in trying to unravel the identity of individuals, in trying to find out their ages, their stature, and also to examine possible trauma and estimate time of death.
All right.
So, and this, I had that special training. My general anatomic pathology training was done in Norway, and I also had fellowship with the Royal College of Pathologists in London, and we are like 4 people in this country.
Wow.
I'm glad to tell you that I am the only one who is still in active service. All the 3 fellows of Royal College of Pathologists are on retirement now. Okay. And then I had to do extra training for forensic anthropology. Using the technique of forensic anthropology, one is able to try to isolate individual bones, putting them together to reconstruct the whole human body, to find out that, okay, there were 3 pieces of human beings or 3 human beings together. I've been able to isolate all these 3 into the individual skeletons. And that does not just end there. You go ahead with determination of the age of the individuals.
So there have been concerns about the quality of work that was done.
Yeah, so I think the police do have the competence, okay? And that to work on this, there is the need for different teams, and it's more like teamwork at every point in time. So, for instance, in the forensic lab, certainly they observe some standard operating procedures, and these standard operating procedures will usually address concerns of degeneration, concerns of room temperature. The police do have the competence to determine all things associated with this identification process.
What were you able to establish as far as your work is concerned?
Before the whole process starts, you have to determine what you would want to do. So you have pieces of bones mixed together, sitting in a box. First is you determine whether these are really human bones or not.
Okay, and you determined
yeah,
that.
we did that, and the skills and the technique are all available. In that setting, we try to make sure we determine the number of people who could have been involved, or the number of people these bones could belong to. Is it 1 person, 2 people, 3, 4, 5? That we also set ourselves up to do that. Yeah.
So how many human remains did you find in all?
At the end of the day, there were 4. Okay, 1 was separate and 3 were more like mixed. So we had to rearrange and sort them out. And at the end of the day, when that is done, in the whole mandate, as we set ourselves out to do, is to try to estimate the age ranges of each skeleton.
What did you find?
One of them, the youngest we had, was between age 15 and 16, and the oldest among the skeleton was between 21 and 22.
So you can only determine a range,
yes.
Usually?
Yeah.
You can't be specific?
No. Usually forensic anthropology, it is important that you're looking at the bones, doing measurements and trying to determine. And so one cannot be specific that this bone is 21 years. No, this is not carbon dating. It's using some techniques. So you're able to give a range.
But will carbon dating, which you just mentioned, help you be more specific?
In this case, no, because if you look at what happened here, the time duration is too short for carbon dating to be employed. So it is still important to employ forensic anthropology. And even in cases where it's been that long, still forensic anthropology is very important.
One of the issues that Professor Bedu Akosa raised had to do with the fact that if the bones had been in that septic tank or cesspit, it probably would have been deteriorated and all that. And then it would make the quality of the sample, if it deteriorates, it makes your work a lot more difficult. How do you explain that?
No, that part is to do with the laboratory work, and I would like to assure him that there are modern techniques which try to address degeneration of DNA. So if you're able to get just a few quality DNA in the material.
So that's the DNA part?
Yeah, that's the DNA part.
I want us to leave out the DNA part since you're just focusing on pathology. So is there anything about the deterioration that affected your work?
No, for us, the bones. I mean, the bones were not deteriorated beyond recognition. So we employ different techniques to trying to associate them and others. So that didn't affect our work. I think his concern was with the DNA aspect, the quality of DNA that was extracted. Usually we have some methods that would help to address those issues.
What else were you able to establish out of your work?
Well, after determining there were human skulls, we determined the stature.
You talked about the ages.
Yeah, the human.
Estimated the ages.
That they were human beings. We determined their height. We also determined the sexes of the individuals. We determined the age range.
What did you find out from the sexes?
All 4 were females. That was very clear. And to be honest, that day when we did that work, I got a bit like depressed. I felt like, oh, okay. And adding that to the age range determination, I was a bit more scared that even though this is not supposed to be like, I don't have to be very emotional. I felt like, you know what, we are getting closer and
it affected
closer.
you in a way.
Yeah, certainly. I felt very sad on the fact that I was hoping we were getting to a point where we would say it's not the missing girls, and then we can still have hope. But when we did the work, before even DNA results came, and looking at the age range, looking at the sexes, I was almost somehow certain that we were dealing with the skeletal remains of the missing girls.
One of the things you indicated that you were also interested in would be the time of death.
Yeah.
Did you establish that as well?
The minimum time of death is, say, 80 days. Because in 80 days, if you put someone, a flesh, full human being in a septic tank, it would have been skeletalized. For us, we would give a certain minimum estimate of the duration since death. The rest of the investigation is ongoing, and I'm sure the police, you see, there's a whole lot of work going on in the background. This is just one part of it. It's a whole lot of police investigative instruments being deployed in several areas. The scientific work has been done, and I'm very confident in the processes that led to the identification of these girls, that there was nothing that was done wrongly, in my opinion.
The families say they want a second opinion.
This is their entitlement. I've done my professional work. I think it was well done. It followed internationally accepted procedures. We use acceptable references, and everything that we did was very accurate, in my opinion. So they are entitled to that. If you ask me, I can give my opinion on that. They can always seek that. They can write to the police administration. They will consider that. And the processes that will be followed, I think there are some laid down rules on how to do this. But for us, we have done our part of the work.
All right, thank you very much, Dr. Ernest Adjei. Dr. Ernest Adjei is an anatomic pathologist and he's with the Komfo Teaching Hospital. Hopefully, whatever insight he's shared has helped you better appreciate the kind of work that was done. You're welcome to the discussion segment here on Ghana Police Watch, and this evening it's the aftermath of the announcement of the DNA tests that were done on the human remains that were retrieved from Takoradi. And joining me in the studio for this conversation this evening, I have the Most Reverend Professor Emmanuel Asante, who's the chair of the National Peace Council. Thank you very much, Most Reverend. And I also have with me Dr. Vladimir Ntwidanso, and he is this your second time on the show.
Sure.
And so I'm sure the people are quite familiar, our viewers are quite familiar with you. The results have come out, and this is something we all dreaded. It turns out that the DNA tests or the analysis that were conducted on the remains have proven to be positive. And so now we know that the girls who were hoping will be reunited with their families, that reunification is not going to happen. And it's obvious that the families are grieving, and it's rightly so. These are people who have had to deal with this for months, some for over a year, that their children left them, their girls left them, and now they know they're never going to come back. What do you say to people like this, Reverend?
Israel, this is a very painful experience. And the parents, the relatives have every right to be angry. They have every right to say the things that they are saying. When things of this nature happen, people go through denial. It hasn't happened because that's not your wish, that you didn't expect that. The expectation was that, it will prove positive in the sense that we're going to have our relatives back, but it hasn't happened. But at the same time, my humble plea to them as they grieve, and we grieve with them, the whole Ghana grieves with them. As we do so, let us also bear in mind and face realities. It has happened, but life must go on. It's not going to be easy, but I just want to say to them that the good Lord in whom you trust will not forsake you. You know, from my pastoral perspective, what I would say is even though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, and you are truly walking through the valley of the shadow of death, what you dreaded is what you have heard. Fear not, the Lord is with you. And so I'm not going to begrudge them if at this stage they are pushing blame and they say all sorts of things. But I would plead with them that in grief, as they grieve, they should remember that they are not alone in this matter. People love them. People are praying with them. But let's face the realities. It's not there. I mean, what we expected has not happened. Let's hang on, and the good Lord will undertake for us.
Amen. 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 Thank you very much, Most Reverend. Is there any way that things can be made a bit easier for them?
Yes, if you remember, and we are all grieving, actually. If you remember during the last episode, we speculated. It could be positive, it could be negative. And we're all hoping that it will be negative so that we continue from there. And as the Most Reverend said, yes, it has happened. So we got to go. I mean, we ask ourselves, where do we go from here? If you put yourself in the shoes of the parents and relatives, you feel the grief. All of them will be suffering from what we call expectation gap syndrome. Oh. And that syndrome will be perpetual if, the question you asked, I'm coming to that, if we don't do anything to halt that perpetuation of that syndrome. You deny, no, it hasn't happened, and you can go mad out of it. So yes, we all have to do a lot to let them feel that, as Most Reverend has said, if the Lord hasn't allowed it, it wouldn't happen. It has happened. We believe in Him, and where do we go from here? It is the basic reason why people should not cash in on this and be making unnecessary utterances. It's the reason why other persons who might have a vested interest in such situations have the leeway to, try and, muddy the waters, and that will rather perpetuate the sadness and the grief. Mm-hmm. My take is that the families must be helped in all manner of ways. The immediate surrounding must help them. The community, the assembly, the nation, the state, we should all help in our own diverse ways to help them accept the reality. That's the most important thing. If they accept the reality, they can put them behind them and then move forward.
But would you also recommend psychological support?
Sure.
Clearly.
When I say helping Definitely. Them, these things, they need clinical psychologists who will be continually visiting, continually talking. They need reverend ministers. They need people. If they are Christians, if they are even not Christians, people should go and actually,
Muslims,
whatever, whatever they belong to,
imams and others should,
should all be helping. It's a big lesson for the whole nation, for families, for young girls and boys, for all the nation. It's a big lesson, and therefore all of us have a stake in making sure that, one, they put it behind them, we the nation learn a lesson, and begin to put measures in place so that these things don't happen. If they happen, we mitigate the bad results.
Some of the families have indicated that they don't accept the results,
right.
And they are asking that, or they're indicating that they would want to have a second opinion. At what point do we have this conversation?
Well, that conversation can be had at any point in time. We haven't had the understanding of forensic genetics where DNA is concerned. If we understand it like working mathematics, the answer is only one. If indeed it is they, then a million opinions, as people are calling for, a million times of forensic geneticists working on this will come to the same conclusion. My personal advice is for them to settle first. Let us settle the dust, which is now a canopy over them. And when they have really been able to made to go through the nitty-gritty of what the police have done, the persons who worked on these things are top-notch specialists.
Yeah. I mean, it was the first time I was hearing that we had a forensic geneticist.
This is a real kind of specialized area.
So, Most Reverend, as we've heard Doc say, what's your opinion on it? Do you think we should just let them have the remains or have access to do their second opinion?
We are talking about a very serious technical thing. It's not anybody at all who can do that. They have the right to seek second opinion, but it should be done within strict, rules.
Certain constraints.
Certain constraints. We need to make sure that it is the remains that we are examining. The agents that are to be used should be the same. And so it should be done under controlled, mode. It's not a question of simply taking the bones and then going to seek second opinion. Because the possibility of somebody trying to
play mischief.
And exchanging the very things that have been examined is also there. And we should not lose that. But they have every right to seek second opinion under these strict conditions. That is the same thing that they are.
But as Doc said, it's going to cost quite a bit. Who should bear the cost?
It is very, very expensive. And this is where families should think about. Because I'm not too sure for that one. It's the police that would have to think. I don't think that the police would have to bear the cost.
Yeah, I don't see the police bearing the cost having done it.
You cannot say that the government should also bear the cost because, they have borne the cost and they have done what they are doing. And so if you are not content with it and you are seeking second opinion, it happened elsewhere at the Sarajevo.
Yes.
When the family said that, no, we're not happy with it, they bore the cost.
Yes.
Okay. So, Doc, the modalities, do you have any experience as to how these things are done elsewhere?
Well, elsewhere,
if somebody needs a second opinion.
A second opinion, the bones will not just be handed over to you, just like Most Reverend has said, go and then bring your second opinion and that kind of thing. It will be done within some constraints. The specialists who worked on it will have to team up with your second opinion kind of specialist to show what they have done, to show what the methodology was. And so let the public think that, and as I was saying, this is a very serious technical thing.
There's this issue that also came up about the president placing a call to Egypt.
Yes.
Or let's just scale back and look at the way the announcement was done. We had the acting IGP in a news conference, and then we also had teams that were sent to the families. One of the issues that's come up is one of the families says, why do you come and break the news to us that late in the night, 7 p.m.? I'm sure you have done that a number of times, having to be in the unfortunate situation of having to break bad news. When should bad news be broken?
It's not easy. Let me make it clear. One of the difficulties that I, as a pastor, have had is to break bad news. Sometimes when you have been asked to do that, because if you don't handle it carefully, you could create all sorts of problems. Traditionally, bad news are broken early in the morning. Traditionally.
Okay.
But we must look at the context. What has happened was not something just...
May I ask, why early in the morning?
Well, for some reason, they think that, then you have time to digest it and deal with it. And You know, it doesn't take away your sleep and all that. Okay.
And again, it's dawn.
Dawn.
When things are cool.
Cool.
You can reflect before daybreak and people hear it.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So traditionally.
That's traditionally.
But looking, you're talking about the context.
Yeah, we need to look at the context. What has happened is it's not something between the family and the police alone.
All right.
Remember that the public, the media, people were saying all sorts of things about this. And the danger of the news breaking before even the families hear of it could create
So
problems.
essentially, it was possible that the news was going to leak.
Yes.
Yes.
And to avoid that, you don't want a situation where somebody would say, are you not coming to tell me? I mean, I've already heard it in the news.
Yeah.
This is where sometimes our media too should be very circumspect in the way we handle issues. We're talking about people who are grieving, who have gone through traumatic experiences. And if we are dealing with the issue, we need to be circumspect in the way we go about it. Under such circumstances, breaking the news either in the morning or in the afternoon or in the evening, so long as that would not, that is intended to preempt, somebody is breaking the news before it comes from the right authorities. I mean, it's acceptable.
Now, the grandparents, the Baka family, they're indicating that they were not told. But we know the IGP indicated that they sent out 4 teams. They sent out teams to the various families. So how come they didn't get the news?
Information was given to the biological mother
whose DNA
was taken. And that is where the little hitch or controversy was. They took the DNA from a specific person. Then
they had to send the news to that
specific person, yes.
Right. But probably it would have been just fair for the information to have also gone to the grandparents.
Oh, definitely, because, I mean, from what you're saying, it was the grandparents who actually took care of her. And so after they had contacted the biological mother, it would have been good if the family members, too, had been informed. But the most important thing is that teams were sent to the families. Family issues in terms of who to contact and all that is another matter.
All right.
But at least that they did before the press conference.
And I strongly suspect also that when the team must have informed the biological mother, it must have been thought that the information is gone. So the
biological mother will contact
exactly, because such matters, funerals and whatnot, bereavement and that, it's a family affair. So the mother had been informed. She wouldn't necessarily then inform the grandparents where the girl was staying.
There's also the issue of the presidential call. The call was placed to the families, and one of the families said, no, we're not going to speak with the president.
It is unfortunate that somebody would refuse a call from the President of the Republic of Ghana on an issue. No matter your grieving and your pain, it would have been good if the person had listened to what the President had to say. It is unfortunate that it didn't happen that way, but I would want to advise, the family members that we need to grieve. We are all grieving with you. But do not let that take you too far, to cut you off from, society and the people who could make a lot of difference in your grieving moment.
I strongly suspect that the Most Reverend has said it all.
And the other issue that's also been quite outstanding is calls for the resignation or heads must roll. And one of the people whose head has been put on the chopping block is the CID boss, Mamia Tiwa Dodangwa. How fair are those calls?
If people understand or understood the processes towards this end, they would have rather congratulated Mami Yatiwa Dankwa for a very good job done. I think the first episode we had now cleared the air as to what steps the police had taken ab initio up to this point. It also included the lapses that came. People did not report they were negotiating until one of the parents decided to call the police. And the following day, the same CID boss we asking the head to be chopped was the one who was within 24 hours being able to arrest the person with whom we are dealing now. On and on and on, all the things he had done. The point is, in investigations, in issues like this, criminality, you work with leads, intelligence reports, and you follow the leads. You follow until you are very sure that, as for this, the public must know. And it's happened all the time. Intelligence failures are everywhere. If there were no intelligence failures, 19 people couldn't have entered the United States, seized 4 American passenger planes, and used them as missiles against mighty America. It happens all the time that even you get a person, you prosecute the person to a certain level only to be found that that is not the case. We have had instances in this case. In matters of this nature, let us remember that the miscreants are smart, and they always want to be smarter than any person, including the police. They can lead you into some toothpick, and that is exactly what happened in this case.
But the public is baying for blood. They want somebody to be held responsible.
It is because of the nature of the psyche that we have put on society.
Sometimes even the good things that people do, we do not hear about it. But coming back to, the issue, the people who are calling for the head of the CID boss. It was interesting this morning when I was coming to the studio that one of the family members is saying that people who are saying this don't know the boss. And the person was saying that, listen, she's been visiting us, been consoling with us, trying to discuss matters with us. And he thinks that if the story is out there, people will rather congratulate her for the good job that she has done. But let me say this to Ghanaians. We need to be circumspect. We are too quick to come up with, remedies when we do not even know exactly what is happening.
That's right.
And it's all because, people have access to the media these days, and everybody gets up and they say something. Please, let us be humble enough to know that we do not know it all. And there may be some things that perhaps, as you rightly said, because the police have not come out, and it may not be necessary for them to come out to say this. You may not know that they were in contact with the family members, and the family members themselves know that the police have been in touch with them, and especially the CID boss. So I will plead with Ghanaians. Security failure is a fact, everywhere. I was amazed studying in Britain at that time when they kept talking about this Yorkshire Ripper. The Scotland Yard with every gadget that they had. Look at the way this guy was drilling them. And we can give countless examples in different countries.
Osama bin Laden.
Osama bin Laden. Anini of Nigeria.
So please, Ghanaians, let's not rush into asking for heads to roll on matters of this nature.
The basic systemic problem is public awareness about security and about the fact of their relationship with the police. What do I see and what do I report? People are not aware about their surroundings. People don't train themselves as to what security is concerned. Maybe in future, if we delve into how all these things happen, we would realize that it is because of negligence on our own part that most of these things do happen. And I think that is also systemic. Yeah. The next systemic issue is our gullibility. Anything comes and we swallow it and we want to blow it.
So where do we go from here, Doc?
We should remember that there is prosecution ahead. And if such a person is, even if the persons or whoever have been arrested or will be arrested are going to be prosecuted. And one of the defense position is that, look, the families are saying that these are not the people why do you prosecute me?
That
kill the case.
Okay, it's true. That's a point, because all this while we've been dealing with kidnapping.
That's right.
Now it turns out that it's murder.
Murder.
And if it's murder, you need these the families,
exactly.
the relatives,
As witnesses.
to say yes, our child is dead.
Is dead.
But if they say our child is not dead, you can't pin the murder on there.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And besides, beyond the prosecution, there are several other things that can come out of this case. So basically, we should be very circumspect. We should be waiting patiently to have a closure of this case. If we haven't closed it, it means the police will have to continue to be looking for the girls when they are really having the evidence that they are no longer alive. Yes. So this is very important.
Yeah. He makes a fantastic point regarding the fact that for as long as some of the families say our girls are not dead, the police can't go ahead with prosecution. It will be difficult for the police to go ahead with prosecution.
You only need a lawyer to come up to say that, what are you prosecuting? I mean, the family members still believe that they are, their wards are still alive. Yeah. So the question is not a case of murder, but it's still a case of kidnapping. So we really have to be very careful. And that's why I want to tell people who are saying all sorts of things. I know prophets will cash in here. Malams, others might seize the opportunity to cash in.
I can tell them that
I can see. No, I can see
your
that this is happening.
God has revealed to me.
Please, let's be circumspect on these matters and be realistic. Let's not try to create a situation that will make it very difficult for us to take the next step of prosecuting murderers.
If the police wanted to do a shoddy job or just wanted to absolve themselves of all these problems of all that we're talking about, they could have kept quiet. They could have reached a point where they say, let us not even announce and that kind of thing. Let us keep on looking for the girls. After 7 years, 10 years, what? So they've done a good job by telling us what they have found.
After 7, 10 years, probably
case dead. Of course, there is no closure to.
Yes, would have eventually moved
exactly.
on.
Yes. So I think the police wanted to do it, and they have to do it, and they've done it.
The police have been doing a lot of good things for us. Kunsu Nabohina. So if for some reason there's a security, even if there is a security failure somewhere, it happens everywhere. So let's not, give the impression that we have such a bad institution that, you cannot even trust them or depend on them.
And let's not also create the impression that everybody out there or all the families are asking for the CID boss to resign. I just got word that the Western Region Police Commander has received a painting that's supposed to be given to the Director General of the Police CID, and I'm going to share the photo with you, and it actually comes with a citation, and I'm going to just read that as well. So it's not all being bashing, okay. I must say. So just looking for the message. All right, so it says, the work I'm presenting to you is to show that we appreciate whatever you've done for us, and we have nothing against you concerning the case. We really know that you're doing your best you can, Mom, and may Jehovah God guide and protect you in whatever you're doing to help trace the whereabouts of Abena and the other 3 girls. He's Philip Crunchy, by the way. He adds that Daddy is aware of the artwork and he's happy.
Off my heart for the young boy who has
taken that step.
Thank you both for coming. Most Reverend Professor Emmanuel Asante, who's the chair of the National Peace Council, and then Dr. Vladimir Inchudan. So here on Ghana Police Watch, we can confirm that the police, they have been able to successfully extradite the 3rd suspect in all of this. He's called Chika. He's been in custody in Nigeria, and the police have been able to bring him to Ghana. So this is information that we're sharing with you, and I'm sure the families out there will see this as exciting news, that finally we're getting to the bottom of this case, and that some prosecution is going to happen, and somebody is going to pay for all of this. Thank you very much for watching Ghana Police Watch. You have a good night.